This next one, a new poll suggests that more than a quarter of Canadians, 27%, now see the United States as an enemy country. Okay. This is happening, of course, as Donald Trump threatens to impose economically devastating tariffs on Canada and try to make us the 51st state. Never gonna happen. Thank you very much, sir. So, Carly, what do you make of this hatred we have to our neighbors to the south?
I think it makes sense in a way. I think for a long time we've been kind of seen as this like bullied younger brother. But what they don't understand is that this younger brother is hardy. And you don't want to piss Canadians off. We're really, really nice until we're really mean. Like, I obviously think that the tariffs and the threat of them is quite scary, but I like that it's brought us all together. Where now it seems like all of Canada's like, try it, see what happens. And I like that.
I love that, but do you feel like that, are you lumping all of Americans in one basket, so to speak?
No.
Because I feel like there are so many Americans, and I find this reassuring in a sense, that if you're listening to particular podcasts or reading op-eds from media sites that you trust and admire, you see that the Americans are galvanized, they're afraid, and they're very angry. Like, I find that portion of this conversation optimistic.
Yes, it has to be government only, I think, right, when you're thinking about this, because individuals are not their government. We know that.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what worries me about this. On the one hand, I think we've talked about this repeatedly on the show, how it does feel nice. I noticed on the weekend, like, it feels like everyone's being slightly nicer to each other. It was like before, for a while in Canada, it felt a little bit like people were road ragey and people were whatever. I don't know if I'm just, looking for it, but I was noticing people like letting people in. And it just feels like we're all on the same team. My friend and I were comparing it to go on your family analogy. That you know how like when you're fighting with a sibling when you're growing up and it's like you can be mad at them or whatever, but if somebody else says something bad to them, you have their back.
Hey,
and so that's
good.
Right now,
that's really good.
And I love all of that, but what I don't like is this idea of like then now that is the enemy. Because to me, if you play that card forward, bad things can happen. And I think right now, tonight, for example, Donald Trump was tweeting about it again. He was trolling us again today about this Canada-US game that's happening today. And what I worry about, we heard about the booing that happened at a great game recently, is that the way that this can play out potentially in sports. And some people might say that, oh, well, that's the perfect place to have sports team kind of fight this out if some of this becomes a sort of representation. But what worries me is the way that fans then can take on this.
Right.
And we saw this actually happen. It spilled over during NHL playoffs a few years ago. A Rangers fan actually got into it with a Lightnings fan for no reason at all except for the Lightnings won. We have this clip that went viral. Take a look. So this was just, they were walking, and we don't know what was said, but all of a sudden, someone was sucker punched. And I guess I just point that out. It's a really alarming clip. This was circulating around for a long time. Is that how far will people go if they're incentivized to think of someone as the enemy? And I think we just need to be wary of that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There's a saying that says the fish stinks from the head. And this is all goes back to President Donald Trump and the way that he started off with those jokes about us being the 51st state, calling other prime minister Governor Trudeau, all of these little shots that we're taking it, we've been watching, and now I think we're just sick and tired of it. And to your point, this past weekend, I don't know if you guys watched that hockey game between Canada and the U.S. There's always been a rivalry between those two teams, but what happened on Saturday was palpable. The way, before the game even started, the way that the Canadians were singing the anthem, in Quebec, by the way, they were like, you could feel the energy in the building. And then like in the first 9 seconds, there were 3 fights. So I feel like this is what I mean. First 9 seconds, 3 fights. Everybody was talking about. The refs were like, we've never seen anything like this. And this is why I brought up that saying. It's like, what he is doing, what Donald Trump is doing is permeating, and it's affecting all of us. Do we hate Americans individually? Of course not. But is there this feeling like, oh, you guys, Cynthia, you're gonna bully us? There's no way. We will buy Canadian, we will stop traveling to your country, which we are doing, and they're starting to feel that as well.
Those are good things. Those are good things, for sure.
Those are good things, but it's gonna play out everywhere, and in the sports arena, it's definitely gonna play out. There is that match tonight. It's gonna be interesting to see if we still have that same energy tonight. But you know what? This is what happens when you have somebody who starts a fight with somebody who didn't ask for it. Yeah. They're like, okay, you know what? I don't want a problem, but if you want a problem, no problem. And that's what Canada's saying right now. Yeah. So I'm here for it.
Wow. I still feel like,
Seriously, I've canceled my trips. I'm not spending my money there. There's other reasons because our dollar's not doing really well, but I'm like, as long as that's going on there, I'm not supporting. I can't support
I feel
you guys.
like my brain is refusing to participate in the "you're the enemy" kind of dialogue. Like, not just because of all of the media outlets that are so upset, like I mentioned, but take someone like Steve Bannon. He used to be Trump's chief strategist in his first presidency, and he was the chairperson behind Breitbart News. This guy was far extreme right. He is writing and saying things now in interviews that has like really far left Democratic people scratching their head and being like, I agree with Steve Bannon, because Steve Bannon is coming out saying essentially people like Musk are evil. Like this is going to be the end of it.
Yeah.
So it is this interesting time, but I'm kind of just reassured by the fact, hear me out, that American democracy is the longest continuous democracy in the history of the world. This is going to be 4 years. But on the other hand, I'm thinking American democracy is the longest continuous democracy in the history of the world, and it's bound to end.
Yeah.
And could this be the end?
It feels
so
like
I'm just like, my brain is just caught in this. There's nothing I can do. I'm neutral.
It does feel like it's being dismantled right now.
Yeah.
Like we're living in that history. We're going to look back and go, the United States is no longer the United States. I don't know what it's going to look like in 4 years, but it definitely in the last month and a half has felt like a very different place.
This is why, though, we need to kind of rise above. Like, it's easy to then go into the sandbox and decide to, like, you know, be potentially like as aggressive back. And I think we need to be careful
you want
of
us to
that.
be more Canadian about it.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
Quite frankly,
I agree. I want to be reasonable.
Yeah.
Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.